Hello everyone, my name is Ian. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, In Brief Book and Film Reviews. It gives me absolute great pleasure to review this book today. It's a book that I've waited for many years, and it's one of my childhood boxing heroes, the G-Man, Gerald McClellan. Okay, so the correct title of this book is actually The Definitive Story of the G-Man After the Bell. The Gerald McClellan story featuring exclusive input from Lisa McClennan, who is his sister and his full-time carer also. Okay, so this book was written by an author by the name of Lettice Lennon. So before I just give you a bit about the author, or talk about the author, what I'm going to say about the book is that I'm really happy that I bought this book, and that it's a book that I wanted to get for a long time. I was waiting for someone to write about this, you know, and this book delivered on all fronts. It's 165 pages. It was released by WarPress publishers, and as I said, this book really kind of answered all the questions that I had, you know, I wondered about, you know, in terms of what happens to a boxer after, you know, after the ring, you know, after the bell. So it was a great read. I just flew through it straight away, and that, you know, and I was really happy that I purchased this book. I would recommend this highly to anyone that's interested in boxing, and that, you know, you hear about the good stories, the bad stories and stuff, and that there's everything in this book. It really is a phenomenal book. You can purchase this book online if you go on to, I think Amazon said it, and maybe even Google Books as well. So it was a really good book, and that I was so happy to read it. Took a lot from it, as I said. I'll talk about that now shortly in that, but just about the author. Okay, so about the author, Lettice, I think I'm pronouncing that, it looks like lettuce, but it's probably Lettice. Lettice Lennon was born in Dewsbury, West Yorkshire, and raised in neighbouring Batley. He worked many jobs, including as a factory operative, window cleaner, waiter, call centre agent, leaflet distributor, salesman and marketing assistant before studying English literature in philosophy at the University of Leeds. He has previously written for the West Yorkshire Playhouse and Poetry and Audience magazine, and is currently enrolled on a master's degree in journalism. He lists boxing as one of his great loves of his life, and proudly represents the same boxing club his father had fought for 20 years earlier. Wayne's debut novel, Life Before the War, is still available through WarCry Press and many other major book suppliers. Wayne is also the ghostwriter of other boxing books titled Snakes and Ladders, the Bobby Vancy story, due out late in 2018 through WarCry Press. So that's just a bit about Wayne. Okay, so yeah. This book, where do I start? So, okay, so for those of you that don't know who Gerald McClellan is, Gerald McClellan was he actually is now currently a Hall of Fame boxer. He's a legendary knockout artist. You know, you talk about well, who would probably be one relevant now today would probably be Deontay Wilder. He would be seen as the knockout artist. Well, Gerald McClellan would make Deontay Wilder look like an altar boy in terms of knocking people out. Jared got most of his opponents out within the first round or second round, and on the fateful night where he stepped into the ring for the last time, he got his opponent out, I think within the first couple of minutes, and that, you know, actually out of the ring, and the opponent just narrowly came into the ring before the referee would have had to blow it, you know, call it call a stop to the contest. Now I don't want to get into all of that. I just want to talk about the book itself and that. So within the book, it talks about everything. So it talks about people within Jared's life, and that, you know, his sister, his family, his you know, former coaches, Stan Johnson, Donny Pendleton. It talks about Jared's son, Gerald McClellan Jr. It talks about other fighters as well, who would have been in Gerald's position and came out a little bit better than him, and who would have been in Gerald's position who have come out just the same as him. Talks about people like Don King, talks about his last opponent Nigel Benn. It just goes into everything. It's a book that answered all the questions that I had in my mind about Gerald. And Gerald McClellan, Steve Collins is my boxing hero. Always has been, always will be, you know. He was just a phenomenal, like, you know, boxer and that. But I have many other ones that, as I got older, I learned to appreciate boxing more as an art than kind of just more of a sport and that, you know. And when I look at people like Michael Watson, who actually coincidentally ended up in a wheelchair also on that, and had brain damage for a period of time and that, you know, in the wheelchair. And I look at him, and I look at Chris Eubank, the kind of the 90s era where there was so many great middleweights as well. I learned to appreciate how good these boxers really truly were, and how different styles make different fights. So this book, as I said, goes into it. It's really Wayne as a writer. He's very good. He asked a lot of questions in there as well. Like, and when I was reading it, I said, this fella's got some brass neck, like, you know, like asking going into all this. But you can understand from a boxing fan as well. There's so many questions that you don't mean to, he didn't probably mean to intrude, but so many questions that he really wanted to get out there for himself, because he said he's a big fan of Gerald himself and that, you know. And all in all, just the book was really interesting read. 165 pages, not long at all. You'd fly through that, you really would. One of my favorite parts in the book, and like I said, it goes through everything from the fatal night. It goes through each round, hospitalization, life after. It goes through before, childhood before, and stuff like that. One of my favorite, there's a couple of incidents within the book, and that I think I have it marked out here. So yes, Jared, you still have your cars. The sisters would assure him. They would stop short of pointing out that he would never possibly drive them again. So that basically his sisters are talking to Jared, who is you know, on the couch at home, and he's trying to talk to him and that about his cognitive skills are not the best because he has brain damage. And he says, "Oh, I still have my dogs," he would ask after his beloved pride of pit bulls. "If I have my dogs, they give me $20 to hold, and I'll give it back to you later." So the sisters, counting on these lack of sight, the sisters would often give Jared a $1 bill, retaining some of the old cunning. Jared would counter this trick by threatening to rip the bill up in front of them. "This doesn't feel like a 20, he would say. If it's a 20, I'll bet you be mad if I tore it up," and that. And there was another one as well. It was talking about when they were on the Wayne, the author, spoke to Lisa, his sister, and he basically was asking Lisa, like, what was Jared like, you know, with the women. And Lisa immediately turned around and was, he screwed all my friends, you know, and when in his prime and stuff like that. And Jared, you know, I think eating a chocolate bar, he shouted, "I'm a virgin," like that, you know. And for someone to have that, you know, who suffers from brain damage, for someone to be that kind of like with the humor, it was just it was just it was a joy to read. Like, it took you down it's a roller coaster of a book with emotions and stuff and that. And one of the things I would credit Wayne about would probably be the fact that his empathy for Lisa and her situation, and that, you know, he heard so many stories about boxing being a mean, cruel sport, and that, not so much the boxers and stuff and that, but the business side of it, and it kind of forgets about his fighters. And I can tell you from my point of view, when Michael Watson was knocked unconscious and he went down, and he was deprived of having I think it was a ringside doctor there with oxygen, and I think it was the 11th round, and there were so many lessons that needed to be learned from boxing at the time in terms of the dangers of not having emergency people around when fight is needed the most and that. Well, if lessons weren't learned after that bout, which I think was in 1990 or 1991, when what happened to Gerald and his situation and that, in 1995, then it really was like, you know, after that I seen particularly British boxing and that it really did clean up its act in terms of its you know, it's kind of lackluster approach to fighters and stuff and that. There's still such a long way to go and stuff and that, but still I still feel that at this point in time it is improving. It talks about the referee and stuff within the fatal night of the boxing match and that, and I have my own opinions about all that kind of stuff and that. I keep them myself to myself because I don't want to get angry about it. And I also as well, if you want to leave comments to I'm talking about the book now, okay? So I'm talking about Gerald as a fighter, because Gerald as a fighter, aesthetically he was boxing brilliance, you know. He was just a thing of beauty. He was just long, tall, rangy, powerhouse, could punch. He was a middleweight. They used to call him the miniature Mike Tyson. He was a middleweight. He was just an unbelievable boxer. Like he was trained by the legendary Emmanuel Stewart, and he was just a fantastic boxer in that, you know. And yeah, even after he stopped training with Emmanuel and that, he kept all these the physique, his style, the whole lot, everything. He was just a thing of beauty when it came to boxing terms and stuff and that. So if you want to leave a comment, please leave it on his boxing skills. Like I said, it goes into everything in here about the alleged dog fighting and stuff and that, and it just goes into everything, and everyone's gonna have a opinion. So if you want to leave a comment, please make it about his fighting skills and the battles that he undertook. Don't go into his personal business or you know, things about that may or may not have happened and that, you know, in terms of the dog fighting and stuff and that. There's been no proof on that, so I don't want to talk about that, you know. And yeah, that's it. So I just wanted to come online today and give a reference to this book and that. So also as well, I'd just like to just to say in that, for his family and that, and just for Gerald himself and stuff, there's his sister, who's his prime carer. She has like a GoFundMe page and stuff, and if you want to donate to it, I'll leave that link in the description box. And I will leave the link to a couple of these videos as well, so you can just see how good of a fighter he was. And I'm still convinced to this day, if he had stayed in the middleweight as opposed to going with the super middleweight and that, I mean, he was going to be a legend, and he is very much a legend and that. But I think beyond, I think it was 28 fights he had, he probably would have gone on to have 50-60 fights and that, you know, and a lot more first round knockouts. So I'll leave you a couple of links to a few of his highlights and that, and then you'll see how good of a fight it was. And I believe that if he had been around today, put him in today's, he would have just clean house. He really would, you know. Like, he was just a fantastic boxer. So you can make a secure credit card donation to the trust via PayPal at Lisa at geraldmcclellan.com, or through Lisa's GoFundMe page and that. So I'll leave up the links there and that for it and that. So I just wanted to come online and give reference to this fantastic book and that. Well done to Wayne, if you are watching this and that. I'd just like to say congratulations on this. This is somewhat of a masterpiece. I know exactly where you're coming from as a not just a boxing fan, but someone who kind of would maybe not appreciate Gerald's style when you were 12 or 14 like myself, and that as much, because we didn't really know about boxing then, or we thought we knew about boxing. But as you get older and you watch fights and you learn the trade and the craft and the dedication that you get to learn, and I really appreciate these boxers and stuff and that. So well done to Wayne for writing this, and I hope that he writes a lot more like these and that. So this is the book, After the Bell, the definitive Gerald McClellan story, with exclusive input from his sister Lisa McClennan. Thanks very much. I hope everyone's doing very well. Happy St. Patrick's Day for this Thursday, and yeah, I hope everyone's doing well, staying blessed, and I'll see you again on the next one. Take care.